So I want to ask you guys a question that was asked to me, actually. It was, Kevin, why exactly would JPMorgan Chase, now this is according to Bloomberg, this is according to a lot of other news, financial news outlets, Business Insider, why is JPMorgan Chase about to spend $1 billion on hundreds of rental homes across the U.S. on their way to becoming a mega landlord? Wow. There's a huge amount of Americans, younger, millennials perhaps, moving back home with their parents because they can't afford to make it on their own. Now, before I give you guys my opinion, because I'm not going to give you the answer just yet, I want you guys to comment down below. Tell me what you think. But first, according to Business Insider, a new joint venture between one of America's largest banks and a growing build-to-rent operator is the latest sign that big investors are undeterred by volatile real estate markets. Haven Realty Capital and JPMorgan Chase's asset management arm said that they will invest up to $1 billion to develop build-to-rent single-family homes across the country, and the duo plans to seed their investment with up to $415 million in equity. So they are borrowing some, but at the end of the day, they have a vision, they have a plan, they have a strategy, they have an objective to acquire, own, occupy, and only for the sole purpose of renting out to tenants, ultimately never seeing the likelihood of for sale or relinquishing these assets and putting them on the free market. It says that the build-to-rent trend initially emerged during the Great Recession as a way for home builders to continue adding supply at a time when consumers were not buying homes. It refers to a process where developers construct an entire community of typically detached single-family homes that are later rented out by an operating partner. Now, I've actually experienced this firsthand as we were actually driving through a neighborhood here in Atlanta while we were visiting, and we decided to stop in Taylor Morrison. I think it was Taylor Morrison. And we stopped in Baster Woods or something. And we stopped in and we poked around. We asked some questions. We walked through some available homes they had. One was unfurnished, same floor plan, but one was unfurnished. The other was furnished. And then, we were asking them questions about how many homes they had left and the future of the development. There was still a lot of construction to be completed. And they informed us that more than half of the neighborhood was actually purchased by an investor, purchased the lots, and is going to continue to finish building out only to rent. Now, if we look at this from the standpoint of JPMorgan Chase, and we look at this from the standpoint of Haven Realty Capital, and we do some basic reasoning and deduce from what we understand, what we know about mass job layoffs, huge impacts to the tech industry, rising interest rates, rising inflation, an overall recession, driving younger, working class, millennials, fresh out of college maybe, young adults, back home with their parents. Perhaps maybe the parents asked them to come back home, said, hey, kids, we need some help. Times are tough. But at the end of the day, why would JPMorgan Chase, why would Haven Realty Group want to invest $1 billion in becoming the mega landlord of rental homes across the United States? It's plain and simple. It's easy. It's because the money is there. And the Fed continuously driving up interest rates are going to make it more advantageous, more attractive for potential higher qualified buyers, but more so higher income earners to make a choice. And that choice is, do we pay towards the top of the market? Do we pay a higher price for real estate? Do we pay a higher price for a mortgage, for an interest rate on that principal balance, ultimately going towards a lot of interest? Or do we rent until the market comes down? A lot of folks telling Squirrel Tribe, my wife, she's looking at houses, And they're telling her, just wait 6 months. Prices are going to come down. Guess what? You know what happens in 6 months? In 6 months, people are going to tell you, wait 6 months. So these qualified buyers that have the income, the ability, they're qualified. They're thinking to themselves, should I pay at the top? Should I pay a higher interest rate and lock ourselves in? Or should we wait it out? Should we wait that 6 months? With the difference being a lot of these new construction, newly renovated, build to suit, live, work, play communities, they are building these out as what they call luxury resort style amenities, luxury resort style communities. It makes it very hard for a home, especially a older home, probably 2 years or older, to even come close to competing unless it's within a neighborhood that has a ton of amenities, and or the home itself has tons of amenities, its own pool, clubhouse, the whole nine. So for a company, a bank, a lender, a financial institution like JPMORGAN Chase, connecting with Haven Realty Capital, pooling their resources, $415 million investment on their part, they are looking at it from an expense and a amortized scheduled depreciation method of utilizing the cash that they have on hand, the liquidity that they have on hand to execute on this future idea and long-term game plan of a huge return on investment from becoming the mega landlord of investing and buying into these properties and creating these rental communities, while overcoming the higher interest rates of the Fed that are forcing and pushing these overqualified buyers into rentals to buy time. They're not worried about the folks that can't afford it on their own or are moving back home. They're looking at professionals. They're looking at professionals. They're looking at doctors, lawyers, folks in the healthcare industry. They're looking at, perhaps maybe even some higher paid real estate agents. They're looking at the folks out there that are probably pulling in over $300,000 a year, and they have the ability, but more so, they have the presence of mind to understand and realize the position that they're in and not make any hasty or drastic decisions to buy into real estate now when they know that all signs are pointing to a downward trend in prices. And even still, these folks, if the prices come down low enough and the interest rates go up high enough, they're in a position to pay cash. And they're going to be very happy and very grateful that they waited and they weren't too eager and too aggressive and rented for a few months, enjoying the lifestyle and the luxuries and amenities available to them from these luxury resort style communities, and then scooping up the greatest deals possible in real estate, paying cash and or getting great interest rates, or a combination of the two by paying down a huge portion of the principal by putting over 50% down and financing the rest, even probably at 15 years, and then paying that off early. Albeit those folks and these giant real estate investors like BlackRock, JPMorgan Chase, Haven Realty, the others, the investors, the hedge funds, at the end of the day, they're going to end up owning pretty much, if not all, of the residential and single family home and multifamily home real estate, leaving pretty much anybody else out there left to only be tenants paying rent forever.